Thank you, Mark. Okay, we'll have a motion to come out of executive session, please.
So make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Okay. Now, Lisa, you wanna?
Yep, I make a motion that we change our legal counsel for Town of Franklin to Coughlin and Gerhardt, LLP, effective immediately.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay. Well, let's see, I think it's time to open the meeting up. There's nobody from the A.L. Kellogg?
Yes,
Yes.
We got
I got the
the
more.
letter, so I think that. Email.
Okay, well, Connie, Lisa's got something else to add.
Oh, okay.
Right, Lisa, did you say there was something else?
Everybody has a copy of the trust figures that came back. It's still doing very well. We had a meeting last night at the Treadwell Fire Department, and there was some discussion between members on the trust. They've ordered 4 new dugouts for the baseball field. They'll be built at the Milford Boseys, and they're 5 feet by 12 feet, and there's 4 of them. They've ordered new bases, they've ordered new tennis court, or tennis nets. They still have to do something with some kind of fencing as a protective on the top of it, so that there's sharp edges, they need to get that covered up. And the next meeting is on April 29th. And in terms of the bridge that's in Treadwell, as soon as the weather is cooperative with Tweedy, he'll come in and fix those walls, and then that bridge can be moved. But that may be,
It'll be a while.
it's not gonna be right away, and I don't know what the summer, his work schedule is gonna be in the summer. I mean, it may be in the fall, I don't know. It's gotta be low water, and he's gotta have time to do it. So that's that report.
And to the foundation, the athletic, Mark and I met with our insurance company on the 10th, something like that. The first part of March, or yeah, after the town board meeting. And I'm not sure if the foundation is under insurance under Franklin, or have they got their own policy? It's just a question. I know that our insurance company tends to feel like they ought to have their own insurance.
I think they're under the town, but I mean, I don't know
Okay,
for sure.
well, our insurance, whoever the individual was, seemed paranoid about it.
Okay,
And that it should be, they should have their own insurance.
okay.
And another thing that should be looked at is have a safety inspection of the playground.
Okay.
That was a,
Can these things wait until the meeting on the 29th?
yes,
Okay.
yes. Yep. I was gonna try to get hold of Jim Carrey, and I never did,
Mhm.
to mention it. There were 2, I think they're the only 2 that he had for the,
Yeah, it was the inspection, that was the big
yeah,
thing.
the playground inspection was a big thing.
Okay,
Because if anything's worn or whatever and you don't correct it, you could be up for a lawsuit. Okay,
but that, we can bring that all up the 29th? and
yes,
talk
yes.
about it. Okay,
Yep.
He's supposed to be mailing that stuff. Did
Right.
you mail it? I don't know,
I
it might have been coming to her too,
Right.
I think last night.
Right.
There'll be a whole check-off list on what needs to be done, so.
What
if you
one?
give me a call and I can grab it or whatever, make a copy
Yeah.
for me. Okay,
Sounds great. Okay,
Yeah. Did they award the bid for mowing up there again with the same company?
same,
Yes.
is it
Yep.
Beltran, I think?
I believe so.
Yep, it was taken care of last year.
Yeah.
There's been some changes added to it of what they're gonna do and what they're gonna mow, and they're supposed to mow the fields shorter, and there was a whole list of differences that were accepted.
Okay.
Okay, meeting's on the 29th.
Is there any other questions for Lisa? Okay. Well, Mike, you were here about the roundabout. That's old business, we'll go to that.
Yep.
They've met with the state, DOT.
Yeah, you guys talked about it about 2 months ago, I think.
I think it was, yeah.
Yep, so
So,
They came out, this is a copy, it's the same one that we've had. And we had they addressed our concerns about, there's gonna be a lot more pavement, so I was worried about where the water was gonna go into the field. They did have just one point of dumping, but they're supposedly gonna put a header in to kind of spread it out, so we don't have that. And then, our driveway access and everything has been addressed. My only concern was, there's a high-speed bypass, they're calling it, where you come down from Oneonta to, it's right in the same lane it is now, and coming onto Franklin. As one of my concerns is, that's gonna keep the speed coming in if what was her name? Danielle was, they like to have everything running through. She claims they put this in to address something from the town. So she would rather not have that bypass in and run everything through the circle. So that's kind of what I came down to. If we could get something, I don't know, I'm not asking to approve the circle because I could care less. If whatever they do with it, they could leave it alone, I'm fine with. But I'm just, if they're gonna put the circle in, I would rather not have that.
have everybody go through the
Go
circle.
yeah, because I don't see the advantage of that, and I could see them, human nature. Someone in here is gonna try to beat them, you're gonna have an issue with that. So
Right.
I would rather, if they do the circle, just run everybody through it, how they design it, and do away with the high-speed bypass.
They'll give you more.
It would move us off one lane, which, like I said, I'm fine if they
But
leave
it'd
it,
make
but
it easier to get out of these driveways.
this one we don't usually come out of.
Yeah.
But as it is right now, coming out of the lower one with vehicles or tractors, you can't see up the hill. We're used to it now, we deal with it, but if they're putting a circle, it'd be nice to be able to, hey, there's someone there, we wait,
Right.
you're gonna know what's there.
The traffic should be slowed down for your
Yeah,
farm
so-
vehicles,
Yeah,
basically.
so, because as it is now, when we're coming in with hay wagons, we pull into the triangle and then shoot across, because we can see up the road. That option's not gonna be there, so, but, yeah. So if you could, I guess, I would just word it, if they're gonna go ahead, it's their choice. I don't see why they need the town to approve what they're gonna do. I know they're trying to push that. Probably have someone to blame. If everyone's happy with it, they'll take the credit. If they're not happy, so, but yeah, that would be my only
Yeah,
thing.
if you're gonna have the traffic circle,
Yeah,
you would rather not have the bypass,
yes, definitely. Yep,
that speed factor.
yes, the speed factor.
But you'd also want some rumble strips or something up the hill for,
If they had warnings, so people know it's there, we could deal with that. I mean, where there's woods there, I don't think it would affect us if they put rumble strips up the hill. If they wanna do something like that, that's some warning, so people realize it's coming up, because it's better not to have access there. Get woke up in the middle of the night.
well, I think the last 2 meetings ago, we left it up to Mike and his family on how we approached it.
Yeah.
So if Mike is happy with the intersection with a conventional roundabout,
Yeah, we can, however they wanna, if that's what they wanna do, we can deal with it. I mean,
you'd rather deal with that than a bypass.
yeah, I don't want the bypass. I mean, if they wanna leave it alone, do nothing, which they're really pushing for this. 'Cause I mentioned the T when we're out there.
Right.
T seems like it'd get everyone stopped. This is what they want, if you wanted to word it some way, so if that's the way, if that's what they do, just as long as you're not the bypass, I think we can deal with it,
Right.
however it turns out.
I think the way the motion was carried before, that, whatever Mike and his family were happy with is what we were gonna be happy with, so I guess there's a motion to,
Well, I don't know. I'm not comfortable with why they want a motion from us. And like Mike said, I mean, it's their projects, their money. I just think if we motion in favor of it, then it's the board. I don't understand why they want our
Right,
approval or
right.
disapproval. It's not our project. I mean, it is in the town of Franklin, but it's really not our project.
well,
And
It
I
wasn't
don't,
anything we initiated
yeah,
at
I
all.
I have a problem with
so you'd rather not
favor
make a
or
decision
against, or, I mean, I'm,
for or against?
me personally, I don't see that it's a need. But I just don't feel comfortable with a motion to take the blame. I think that's gonna put us in a position where,
Whatever, you know. So you, I guess, Mike, if you'll be in communication with them, you know,
Yeah,
the
I can-
board would rather not
Take a stance.
take a stand one way or the other. If you're all right with a roundabout,
Yep.
then you go ahead.
I did tell them, the only thing they were, she kept saying that the high-speed bypass was a town of Franklin request. They usually don't put them in. So maybe if we could just tell them, you won't do a motion for or against, just, I don't know where they came up with that we wanted a high-speed bypass.
Well, that was a concern of how
Trucks.
trucks coming
Trucks.
down the hill,
Yeah, but
you know, that are more than the 20 miles an hour.
right,
How will they be able to exit without
Right.
having an accident?
yeah,
That was a concern.
okay.
And that's why they came up with a bypass. That was one of the reasons. And I guess you can tell them that the board would rather not take a position either way. But
Okay.
if you're all right with it, you know, we want to make sure the people that are most
Yeah,
affected. are
like I
at
said,
ease
we can deal with whatever, just the bypass I think is gonna cause more headaches than it's gonna
with it.
fix.
Not going to fix any of your problems.
No, and I don't know how much of the corner problems, I mean, because they're still gonna have that human nature, I've been there. You're gonna try to beat the guy.
Right, you
And-
might have some competition.
It won't be any head-ons, but it will be side by side, for sure, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Mike.
I don't particularly care for the roundabout. I think it's too small.
Yeah. Well, that's, you know,
It's gonna cause congestion. They seem to like congestion.
well, they think it's, you know,
They boast about it.
I'm not sure how they can control the speed.
By making it so small that you'll go off the road if you go fast. Literally.
If you're not down to 20 miles an hour, you
That's
will
what
not
they're
make the
doing.
corner, you're right. You know, but that doesn't seem to be an issue. They will get them slowed down somehow, supposedly. And I think rumble strips, or whatever you want to call them, are very important. You know, have signage and those, because that'll get your attention. You might look up and, oh, what's that sign for?
Yeah, rumble strips are a lot cheaper than redoing the whole thing.
I agree. So, we voted against it before, but we also, the last time, we left the ones that are most affected to decide how they wanted it. So, we back off on our other ones, or what do? We just table it as a non-decision by the board?
You don't want it, right, Mike, or do you?
No, I mean, if they do nothing, I'm fine. My thing is, if they're putting the money into the roundabout and putting it in, I don't want the high-speed bypass, because I think you're putting that much money in without slowing people down.
Right.
I mean, it will take care of, I guess, that people run the stop sign, so there won't be any head-ons there, but there's gonna be issues coming down the hill and coming out of that roundabout. They're gonna get together there. So, yeah, I'm fine with nothing, but if they're gonna do something, if they're putting the roundabout in, I don't want the bypass, that's my wording onto it.
Are there serious accidents there now?
They have data that there is, I'm living there, I don't think, there's been, I think last summer, someone on the fire department would know better. I remember one, during the day, someone ran the stop sign going towards Oneana, someone coming down the hill, they got together. Since they took down the guardrails, we used to get it quite a bit in the middle of the night, college kids, would get in those guardrails, we had to pull them out or talk to them and call. Since they took that down, you hear them run off, but they aren't stopping.
By the time they get the other side of the triangle, they got it under control and we're
They have data, I guess, that there's deaths in the circle.
It's one of the-
None of them have been there, yeah, they've.
It's one of the most dangerous, most accident occurring intersections, quote unquote, in the state, in the top 10% supposedly. That's the information they gave us.
Yeah,
And it's on a downtrend right now. It hasn't happened a lot in the last 2 or 3 years. But there were 5 or 6 I guess in 1 year, some 3 or 4, maybe 1 year. You know, a lot of it, the biggest problem is where you're pulling from 357 onto 28 to go to Oneonta. Because if you're gonna have a mishap, it's usually driver's door is gonna get hit. And that's where, you know, they're in it to save insurance companies money. Lawsuits, you know, if the state doesn't do anything about it, they're saying eventually the state will get sued for not trying to fix it. And whether, if we voted for it, would we be brought into that circle of, or voted, if we voted against it, would we be brought in that circle? The state wanted to, but town of Franklin didn't want to. Is town of Franklin liable for taking sides? So, I mean, it's, depends on what lawyer you talk to and, you know, whom you talk to. But, I think there is merit in not taking a side on it. If the state wants to do it, let it be their cup of tea. You know, they've been told by a lot of people that we don't think it's necessary. They're not doing it because of, I guess they are doing it because of the number of accidents, and that they have been told if some of these dangerous intersections do not get fixed, you could become liable for more suits. So it's insurance company driven, or lawyer driven, whoever.
Isn't there something about federal funding involved?
It's all federal money, it's not state money, it's all federal money
Yeah,
that
a
is to be
federal
spent.
program for spending money.
Yep, and this has been pinpointed as one of the dangerous intersections at about $1 million project, which sounds awful cheap for a state job, but, you know, that's what they're saying. And signage, they say, won't work, or doesn't work, or, so I'm not sure how they're gonna slow them down to get down to 20 miles an hour. If signage doesn't work, you gotta warn people. So, I mean, what does everybody think? I mean, you know, Bill, you're not for it, I understand that. And is it something we wanna take sides on, or just see what the state wants to go ahead and do it without our approval, or without our denial? Never been so quiet out here, what the hell's wrong?
Well, one thing I'm thinking about is just, you know, Mike, you don't want the high-speed bypass. I would imagine there are people who want the high-speed bypass, and I would be concerned that those people would be saying, you know, if there's nobody saying anything against it, just telling you, state, go ahead, do what you want to do, hey, why don't you put in that high-speed bypass for us so we can keep those trucks going. That would be my concern.
Well, I mean, that's what we've basically put in Mike's ball field, his family, because he's the one who's most concerned, and if he doesn't want the bypass, I would think the state wouldn't do the bypass. Because he's all right with a roundabout. He's not, you know, if you're gonna do something, do the roundabout, not the bypass and roundabout. So I would think the state would go along with the roundabout, like they originally wanted.
Yeah.
I would like to say, I think a roundabout is a street furniture that goes in a more urban area than in the middle of a rural highway. And 357 is a state highway, right? So there's two places where between here and the Treadwell Route 14, where the road is a blind spot, where this road goes up and down. And I experience more and more people riding in the middle of the road. I would rather see, I think they used to be called thank you ma'ams. You go like this. The $1 million we put into those two, there's two humps, I think, that just are dangerous.
Yep.
And that doesn't matter how fast you're going, 20 miles.
Right, Mike?
When we discussed this about a year ago, I brought up that we do have a dangerous road in Franklin. It's not a state highway, Case Hill Road. There has been 2 deaths on that road under suspicious circumstances. But that road is traveled way too fast, and there hasn't been any more signage put up. And if you do use that road, you will see how fast they go down that road. And I think it's something, you know, maybe it's legal. They gotta be slowed down on that.
Oh,
road.
that's another I think there's a sign up on top.
There's a
hill and
sign on
stuff.
top, I went and I
You know.
looked and said, well, they put something on Schoolhouse Road. Yeah, stop sign. You know, you have to stop when you get to the end of
Right.
Schoolhouse Road, because you'll end up in the woods, but there's no signage really on that road.
Mhm.
You know, and I know it's a big difficult problem, but, you know, do we have to wait for one more death? I don't know.
Right.
I mean, we've had 2 deaths there in 20 years, I think. So they shouldn't have died, but they did.
Right.
And it is because they had excessive speed on that road.
Well, I don't know if any of them were excessive speed. They were all excessive speeds. I you know,
Well, there is
we're going off to
excessive-
a whole nother
I
subject
know, but
here.
there is excessive speed,
Right.
but if we could fix a road, that's a road that,
Right.
you know,
See,
you had
that's
2 deaths.
right. Right.
I think the point is that there's a better way to spend the money.
Well,
We
that's
discussed
state
this at
money that
meeting.
is
It's
spent
labeled for this
for that
project.
spot.
Right.
That's
So
it.
Jeff brought that up at that public meeting, it's labeled for this project.
Right, It's
not
just
a-
for the
What we can do with
you know,
It's not
57
signed.
intersection. It's not for any other roads.
No, but for the town point of view, if we just put up a sign too, if there's some way we could to slow people down. I don't know what a sign costs, and I don't, probably
Oh,
costs more to get the permits to put it up than. the
no,
actual
there's no,
cost.
I don't think there's a permit process. I mean, you're not really mandating any speed reduction. You're just, you gotta warn them that there's a hill or, you know, I'm not sure, you know, speed limits aren't, the signs are there. And that was brought up at one of those meetings coming into Franklin. How many people are at 30 miles an hour at the village limit?
Yeah,
There's not a lot of us. Well, you might, well, I normally not, but, just to be honest, I mean,
Put it on cruise and 30, you go.
okay. But, you know, it's, you know, signage is good to a point. You've gotta have something get your attention, to pay attention to signs. You've seen it once, you've seen it twice. I don't even realize where the stop signs are in North Franklin. But I know there's an intersection there, you have to stop at. So, I mean, there's just so much signs will do, which is what they say, but you gotta get people's attention anytime you want a sign to be looked at, you've gotta do something to, whether it's flashing sign or rumble strips, something to get your attention, something's coming up. Okay, so I feel the board wants to table this. See where the state wants to go with it, is that what I'm the feeling I'm getting? Okay, so it's been tabled. Okay, I see a new face here, and that's Paul. Do you have any concerns, Paul? Just, okay. So I guess now we'll open the meeting up to pipeline concerns. We'll go, and, okay, the thing we're gonna change now, we've got the 3-minute rule. What we'd like to do, is save our clerk a lot of work, is we also like to have any of your concerns and everything put in writing, so we can give it to the clerk, so she doesn't have to try to keep notes on everything. But not this meeting, it won't happen tonight, but from after tonight, we'd like to have that. If you're gonna speak and have, you know, you voice your concerns, we'd like to have some of it in writing at least, so the clerk doesn't have to use up 3 pens at the meeting. Okay, you're a new face, so I guess we'll go you first, huh?
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
My name's Tim Mulroy, and I might be a little behind on the Constitution, but in terms of the new pipeline, the compressor, I think what I have to say is still pertinent. I own the old Stilson hardware store with my cabinet shop in the back, where I employ local people, and also I have 30 acres in the town of Franklin. My life revolves around wood. My business depends on local lumber. I heat with wood. I even eat wood. Maple syrup. The following information is from the Constitution, Vice, Section 4-5-3. Quote, interior forests has a higher habitat value for some wildlife species, may take decades to establish. Oh, I should mention, I'll provide this in writing for her.
Okay,
She doesn't have to. may take decades to establish. It is generally considered more rare in the environment compared to edge forest, which has a lower habitat value for many species and can be created immediately with disturbance. Constitution has identified 35 acres as the minimum size of interior forest habitat. Constitution would bisect 129 interior forest blocks greater than 35 acres, creating 55 forested blocks less than 35 acres in size. That's still the Constitution. Assuming that 36 miles of interior forest habitat would be impacted, there would be indirect impacts on 2,600 acres of interior forest. This is just for Constitution. It does not include the smaller woodlots, and does not include the new pipeline. I understand now that also they're mowing through someone's sugar bush and through a Christmas tree farm. A lot of jobs around here depend on logging, milling, wood products, hunting, firewood. Many landowners count on the extra money, and there is no mention of job loss from this loss of wood, which I might mention, we have the finest hardwoods in the world around here. I was at the first board meeting about the pipeline where there was people out the door, and we were told that the board had called the pipeline company that morning and were told there was not going to be a pipeline. An obvious lie. Then there was going to be a pipeline, but no compressor. Then there was 2 pipelines and a compressor, a classic bait and switch technique. Then a valve station and a radio tower. Actually, the name Constitution sort of irks me because they try to put a veil of patriotism on it, and there's nothing constitutional about taking people's lands and rights for a for-profit business. They throw a few crumbs our way, and then by lies and omission, they trash a pristine ridgetop, not because it's the best route, but because it's the cheapest. To me, Franklin has a bright future in wood, wood products, all manner of agriculture, in which the demand is growing, abundant water, small business, and tourism. The pipeline is a negative on every count. I have lived here for 40 years for the rural lifestyle, the beauty, and the sense of community. I thank the board for giving me the sense of community by letting me speak. I thank all the volunteer work by citizens who realize we already have everything we need. We can only ruin it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We're gonna get out of the family, okay? Somebody else, please. I will come back to you.
Okay.
Is there anybody else?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Jason Starr here. I'm gonna start with a dream and then end with a question. At a regular meeting of the town board of the town of Franklin, Delaware County, New York, held at the town garage, Route 357, in said town of Franklin, on the 7th day of April 2015 at 7:30 p.m., there were all these amazing people here, and a little baby. The most amazing of all. Mr. Taggart, Mr. Smith, Mr. Grant, Ms. Hike, and Mr. Sitz offered the following resolution and moved for adoption. Whereas heavy land clearing activity, pipeline construction, and a 30,000 horsepower compressor station are slated to occur and be built in the town of Franklin. And whereas this board has been requested to adopt a local law prohibiting harmful noise levels for the purpose of protection and preservation of the property of the town and all its inhabitants, and of peace and good order therein. And whereas this board has been presented with and has introduced a draft noise ordinance to resolve said issue, titled, and I had a lot of funny ones that was going to come up, but we can just say basically noise ordinance for the town of Franklin. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to section 20 of the municipal home rule law of the state of New York, a public hearing on said proposed local law shall be held on the 30th day of May 2015 at 2:00 p.m. Eastern Time at the town garage. You get the idea. That's what I think can happen. Now I just want to talk a little bit about the noise ordinance that has been submitted and proposed. First of all, the authority, and this you guys all have a copy, I believe. In accordance with Article 10 of the Municipal Home Rule Law of the State of New York,